This is the second video of our trip to Lava Hot Springs, Idaho in our all-electric RV. Click on the card above to watch the first video if you haven't already, where we drive up here from Utah and spend a day at the Olympic pool and another day floating down the river. So today we are leaving the family reunion. Everyone else is going home, but we're going to continue to camp another night in this area. Just a short 2 or 3 minute drive up the road is the site where I am now. So I've just come up here to scout it out this morning. This right here is the highway that's going past, and so there's this side road that comes across the railroad tracks. And then I will show you with the drone at this point, but I'll have filmed it with the drone later because I don't have it here with me right now. And you can see that there's a loop, and there are assigned designated sites all the way around the loop, and signage saying not to camp anywhere else. And luckily, there is one spot available, and that's where my truck is here. All of the rest of them have campers already in them. So this is where we're going to be camping today, and I'm just going to get the trailer relocated over here, and then we'll have our spot saved. The view, especially in this direction, is really nice looking. Got this meadow of grass, mountains in the background and whatnot. We do have quite a consolidation of campers in a small area, so that's not great. You got some generator noise and whatnot, but it's okay, it's free. And this particular spot where we are is kind of an offshoot that's farther away from the rest of the campers. This is the Google Maps image satellite view, and this is what I was expecting to see, which shows campsites spread across the edge of the river for a bit of a distance, and the reality is now they've consolidated it into basically a parking lot. Well, Jessie just arrived with our friend's help, bringing her over, so she's going to save her spot for us. And I'm going to go get the trailer. My laptop is processing images from last night's time lapse, so I just put it down here on the floor so it won't fall, but it's actually still plugged in and being powered by the trailer, and it's still processing. And I'm just going to drive this way to the site that's just a few minutes drive away. I just finished packing up the trailer, hitching it up. This is one of the other RV parks right next to where we just camped. So there's just this pull off right here. It's kind of narrow and bumpy, and it goes right across the railroad tracks. And so I'm going to head in there and then get parked. This sign right here has additional information about camping here. There's a 10-day stay limit, and our spot is just over here to the right. We've leveled the trailer and set everything up, so we're good in this site. We're getting packed up, and we're just going to go off for some day adventuring. We're not totally sure what. We're going to go explore this area more. I have left the mini split on, set to 64 degrees. Right now it's 69 inside and 86.5 outside. And right now we're showing 79% on the battery. We're getting 1700 watts of solar. 700 watts is what the mini split is pulling, and it's almost 11 a.m. Lava Hot Springs is on the other side of the mountain ridge we are camped next to, but luckily it's only a couple of minute drive into town. On the way we stopped to gas up our truck. Have I mentioned how beautiful this area is? We're at the local Sinclair just fueling up, and apparently here they have a $75 limit on the purchase, so we're getting 19.486 gallons, $75, and I'm going to have to start a new transaction to keep filling it up. I finished with our second transaction, and so that was $17.10 and 4.442 gallons. We found a spot here to park our truck. We're kind of about a block or two away from the main street area, and we just needed to find a place to park. And look at this. This building collapsed from the weight of the snow in this last winter, which was a very rough winter, the winter from 2022 into 2023. But look at that. It's kind of amazing to me that they haven't tried to do anything about it. They just put this fence around it. You even have vehicles that are literally still under rubble, and they're just there. Nothing happening. I wonder what's going on. There's some stage lighting up there, so it looks like there was probably a stage up there. This was definitely some kind of commercial establishment. Oh, okay, so there's the sign. It's called the Blue Moon Bar and Grill. And right over this way, just a block away, is the main street that has all of the shops and whatnot that we're gonna go check out. And there's a Tesla. One thing you'll find consistent in Lava Hot Springs is this train. It goes often through the whole town. So where we were camped out was close to it, but virtually the whole town is close to it and can hear it on a regular basis. We're gonna go check out this history museum, visitor info. $2 a person for adults. And then a gift shop over here. And they have some old projector here. It's kind of cool. There's the gift shop. We just stepped into another gift shop here on Main Street, and this one's full of all kinds of crafts. That's a cool set of knives, huh, Lucy? And they have all these pelts.
Ooh.
That looks cool.
Glass?
No, there's no glass there.
Sometimes I feel like they're beads.
You girls love beads, huh?
They're so cool. Ooh, look at this hummingbird.
This is an interesting part of the shop. We have a bunch of rattles here and a collection of insects on display, and beetles, spiders, some kind of lizard. We're just walking along the street looking at the views, and I love the backdrop of the mountain there. It's really a quaint main street to experience. This is where the lava hot springs wishing well used to be, and I don't know what happened to it, but they have a sign here saying that's where it is or was. Right here along the street there's a whole bunch of places to rent tubes, and just up the street there is where the top of the Portneuf River put-in is. And then this street right here is where the shuttle drivers were bringing us yesterday back many times along this road. There's a shop called the Atrium we're going to check out. This is an escape room that they have here. There's a movie theater here. They're showing the Hunger Games. Quite the eclectic location. A suntan bed. Yeah, really interesting place. Really eclectic. We are done checking out the Lava Hot Springs Main Street attractions. Definitely a very touristy area. We're heading back to our truck next to this derelict, broken down building and the crushed vehicles next to it. And we're gonna head back to our trailer and eat lunch. There's the river we floated down.
Yeah, we did that same thing, huh?
Like so many times.
And we're back to the trailer. Hey James, let's do a quick systems update. We left the mini split set to 64, and it's nice and cool in here, but it's still 68, but it's 93.6 degrees outside. The battery is at 96% on the trailer, and the mini split is consuming about 956 watts. It is 12:30 p.m. I've been keeping my eye on the battery, and it just barely turned over to 100%, and it is 12:59. So basically 1 p.m. today, the battery fully charged, and we're still getting 1600 watts of solar for some reason, but I guess it's just calibrating, plus the mini split is pulling a big chunk of that. It is cold enough in here that some of the girls were too cold, and Clara was like, hey, can we eat outside? So we set up the yellow table out here so that she could eat in the heat. How is it going, Clara?
Good.
Are you nice and warm?
Yeah.
Awesome. Clara, you have a great view here. Instead of having the mini split blast its cold air right out the door whenever it opens, we're utilizing this back door to help preserve our cold air that's in the front of the trailer. And it actually feels pretty nice here in the back as well, just not quite as cold as up here in the front. And the mini split is blasting straight at this door, so we're using that to try to preserve some energy. I guess that's a little bit unnecessary considering we are full. Right now it's 1:25 p.m. and we're packing up to go to Soda Springs. Battery's at 100% still. We're getting 2 kilowatts of solar though, because we're consuming 2100 watts of electricity. And that's for the water heater and the mini split that are the two primary things pulling power right now. I set up our Starlink dish right there, and it's working great. As we depart, the outside is showing 99 degrees and the inside is 68.2. Are you excited for Soda Springs, Clara?
Yeah!
Alright, let's go get in the truck. We've arrived just minutes before the geyser is supposed to shoot out of the ground. Apparently it's every hour on the hour here in Soda Springs, Idaho. There's a platform up here above it to be able to look down on it while it shoots. Are you girls excited? Yeah. Alright, it's gonna go off in about 2 minutes. Here's the Soda Springs geyser. What do you think, girls? We went to Yellowstone in 2020, around the same time of year actually, so it's been 3 years. But you don't remember it? Well, this one is a little smaller. It goes actually about as high, probably. It's quite high, it's just not as much water. And this location is just here on the side of town. That's the rest of town right over this way. Oh, there it goes. Soda Spring is the world's only captive geyser. In 1937, Soda Springs' city fathers, intent on locating hot water for a community swimming pool, unwittingly drilled into the ground, unleashing a 100-foot geyser and startling the local citizens. The 72-degree Fahrenheit water continued uncontrolled overnight, causing water to run down the streets, so eventually they capped it. And now it's controlled with an electronic valve set to release every hour on the hour. The wind shifted, and all of a sudden this platform is getting quite a bit of water sprayed onto it from the geyser. Kids are having fun with it though. What do you think, James? This is your first geyser you've ever seen. I think he loves it.
Wait, so this is the closest geyser he's going down.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's only your second geyser, Clara.
Why don't you go down and follow this trail?
And the first
Maybe
geyser
right there.
was Yellowstone.
Yes, Old Faithful at Yellowstone was your first one. There's Lucy and Lydia down there on the boardwalk. We're gonna go walk around the whole thing now. It's going on longer than I expected. I wasn't really sure what to expect, but I thought it'd stop by now. Well, that was fun. This is about as hard of water as it comes, and you can see all of the mineral deposits built up on this wood platform from the years of getting sprayed on. And just in a few minutes, my cameras that were in the spray have quite the buildup of hard water deposits already there. You can also see the mineral deposits just built up here on the embankment along the edge of this river. Would you recommend that other people come here?
Definitely.
Definitely? A lot of fun? 10 out of 10?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
This is the dinky engine across the street from the geyser, which is right there next to the Eastman Drug Store. There's the story about it. And that is very small. I will give them that. We just found this swing and the kids are loving it, especially James. Look at his face. Look at James. Hey, baby. We are on our way back to Lava Hot Springs, and there's a pull off here for the Oregon Trail Memorial Park or something to that effect. There's a reservoir right here, and it looks like people camped out and whatnot. But there's this plaque here, Ruts, Swales and Traces. So supposedly there are signs of the wagon trail over this way. I'm gonna go check it out real quick. So there's a trail marker here. This is California Trail and Oregon Trail, but I don't really see much out here. I guess there is kind of a lower depression in this region. Maybe that's relating to it. And here comes that train again. It's pretty hard to see right now, especially because there's all this grass growing. But okay, yeah, cool. So the Oregon Trail apparently came through here in the past. The Oregon Trail marker was just right over there. So we decided, since the kids already had swimsuits on and they're hot, we're gonna go ahead and just jump in this reservoir real quick and let them cool off.
We need to save our lives.
All right, let's go get them. I love how green that grass is across the reservoir. How's the water? Oh, okay. Not the cleanest water I've ever seen, but it's water. James is loving it.
I need to get more water.
James, are you having fun? Hey, James. How's the water, Lucy? Thumbs up. It changes temperature a lot. Like within 20, 30 feet from the shore, it's changed temperature multiple times. So that's interesting. All right, let's head back in. We are back to the trailer. Our neighbors have had their generator running all afternoon, I assume probably for air conditioning. And our air conditioning has been on too. It's down to 65 degrees in here, and it's 97.2 outside. And our battery is still at 100%. And we're getting 800 watts of solar to power the air conditioning. And right now it is 5:17 p.m. Right now we're cooking up dinner on the induction cooktop, and the water heater is on right now because the girls just took a shower. So that's how much power we have being drawn from the battery right now, about 2,500 watts. And then Jessica is going to be running the microwave here in just a second for the corn on the cob. But because the microwave is on the same inverter as the water heater, and the water heater's already pulling a lot, I'm going to go ahead and turn the water heater off. Now Jessica's going to run the microwave, and you'll see the power will drop down momentarily, and then it's going to go back up to a high number, even higher, so 2100 watts now that the microwave is running on L1. And then as soon as the microwave is done, we'll turn the water heater back on. The inverters can go up to 2400 watts each, so we're pretty close to the maximum on L1 right now, and we're pulling 3000 watts right now from the battery bank. And so now the solar has jumped back up and is now producing 1200 watts because, well, it has somewhere to go, so it can produce it now. Hey girls, how's your dinner? We got corn on the cob, and what else?
Hawaiian chicken and rice.
Hawaiian chicken and rice. And looking at the trailer, we're down to 93% on the battery, and we're still withdrawing energy because the water heater is still on and the mini split as well. We're still getting 1200 or about 1100 watts of solar, so we'll see where this evens out after this heavy drop period is done. The water heater just got up to temperature. We're down to 90%, and you can see the majority of the kilowatt that we're getting from solar is still going to the mini split. And so we've got 119 watts going into the battery right now. For dessert, we're having some of this delicious apple cinnamon bread toasted. And so as just to show how much energy the toaster consumes, look up here on L1, that is where the toaster is plugged in, and the mini split is pulling about 576 watts on L2, so if you subtract that from L1, that is about how much it's using. It is now 8:12 p.m. and the battery's at 79%. We're only getting 50 watts of solar now because the sun has gone behind the mountain, and the mini split is consuming 478 watts right now. And the girls are asleep. You got Lucy here reading books still, I guess, and then James is asleep right here. Probably can't see him in the dark. So we're gonna go to bed and see where this is in the morning. Hey Lucy, what are you reading?
It's Guardians.
Okay, oh, I see it right there. All right, well, good night.
Good night, Mom.
See you in the morning. How is the temperature back here? Good. This is a beautiful area to camp, and I captured this 2-for time lapse of the sun setting as well as the moon. If you look closely at the bottom right area, you'll see cows grazing in the grass on the mountainside. There was increased traffic here due to the parking lot for people fishing in the river, but that died off once darkness fell and the stars came out. The one persistent source of traffic and thus noise pollution was the ever-present trains. This is the energy graph for that day, and you can see the state of charge began at 80% and then declined throughout the day, and we bottomed out at 64%. And you can see the energy consumption here jumped up in the morning as usual, and then the solar took over and it climbed all the way up to 100%, and it stayed at 100% for a couple of hours and then barely started to decline here right as we got to 3 p.m. and then it marched down from there relatively slowly. We had some pretty high energy consumption there, but the solar was still high enough that it kept up, and then we dropped off down to 63% by the end of the day. So our consumption for the whole day was 12.2 kilowatt hours, and our solar production was 13.6, which was clearly way lower than it could have been, but the battery filled up, so the solar production had to just drop down to match the energy consumption from the mini split cooling the trailer. And you can see there's a delta here that the solar production was 0.9 kilowatt hours, and the consumption was 0.76, and so that difference is the efficiency losses going through the inverter, I believe. It is now the next morning, and the scenery here is just gorgeous. I love this meadow full of green grass, and I'm filmed a time lapse, so I will show you that now. I started this time lapse just in time to catch the last of the stars before the sunrise washed them out. Time lapses are typically more interesting to watch when there are clouds moving across the sky in cool formations, patterns, and colors. For a while there, it looked like the cloudiness was getting thicker than I like, both for the time lapse and for my solar electricity production. But all of a sudden, the clouds cleared just as the sun came over the mountains. One of the joys of camping in an RV is having more creature comforts of home, but being in varied locations of nature, and the kids love exploring our campsites. In this case, the girls were playing The Ground is Lava while they climbed all over the log fence. Hey James. James came out to join me checking on the camera, huh? Are you having the time of your life? He just woke up recently. Hey Lucy. How did you sleep?
Good.
Or great?
Great.
So were you too hot or too cold last night? Or perfect?
Around the middle, I started getting kind of hot.
Mm-hmm.
So then I got out of my covers. And then at the end, I got cold. So then I got back into my covers.
What do you think of this view?
Good.
It's beautiful, huh?
Yeah.
We have a newcomer. Hey, Clara.
Oh,
Is
also-
Lydia coming?
And also, last night, I heard a train go by in like the middle of the night or something.
Mhm.
And that kind of woke me up. Like the
Well,
horns.
Trains went by several times last night.
I only heard one.
Well, you're lucky. They go right by us. Here comes the latest train.
Trees are so long.
So, Lucy, you said the trains woke you up last night?
Just
What did you say, Lucy?
one.
Just one train last night? Well, there were many, I guarantee it. Seeing this train. Yeah, he's like, yeah, trains! Hey, Clara, did the trains wake you up last night?
No.
Okay, that's great.
Well, I guess it wasn't the middle of the night, it was more the beginning of the night
Yeah?
because I was still kind of half awake when it started.
So once you fell asleep, then the trains didn't wake you up at all during the night?
Yeah.
That's great, I'm glad to hear it. And silence is restored, mostly. And Lydia's joining us. Good morning, Lydia. Lydia, how did you sleep? Did any trains wake you up while you were sleeping last night? Nope. Just like that. Yeah, so none of the girls, or I guess even James, was affected by the trains. It's just adults that wake up to things like that. Lucy said she was, but she thinks it was maybe in the beginning of the night before she had fully gone to sleep. So I would say this site is actually slightly quieter than the other one for a couple of reasons. We're a little bit further away from the train tracks. The highway is still there, but it is actually on the other side of the train track, so it's even farther away. And cars are already up to speed, so as they're going by, they're just maintaining their speed. It's just mostly the wind and tire noise on the road. And then thirdly, which is very important, is the other highway, that highway noise is not audible from here. And they were using engine brakes a lot coming down that hill. I've been hanging out outside for a little while with the kids, so let's go inside and see how the systems are doing in the trailer. I turned off the mini split about half an hour ago, so it's now showing 69 inside, but it was down to like 63. It was really cold. And it's showing 73 outside. And then over here, looking at the battery, we're at 42%, getting 500 watts of solar now, and our AC loads are almost nothing. I turned on the water heater this morning, and it's now up to temperature, so the battery was just a little bit more before that. And right now it's 8:30 a.m., and Jessica is just now turning on the induction cooktop. So now that's going to be pulling some additional load. We'll see that on L2 right there. See how it's now 870 thereabouts. So that's how much that is pulling right now. So Jessie just finished cooking these 4, and there's some more she just put on. So the induction cooktop is still on. We're down to 40%, but we're getting 1,000 watts of solar already. So we're actually charging the battery while the induction cooktop is on, and the mini split is off right now. It looks like we might not get into the 30s today. In any case, the battery system on the trailer, we got plenty of energy for what we're doing today, and it's starting to charge already. And we're going to be packing up here at some point this morning when we decide to, and then we'll be heading home today. How was your breakfast, girls? How about you, James? He's loving it. He was real hungry. Are you kids all watching the train go by?
Yeah.
All right, let's go play in the hot springs.
Time seeing a train.
Oh.
And they just kept coming like every single day, like every hour maybe.
Yeah. I think there were some hours that was like 3 trains in an hour. James is perfectly happy just to sit here playing in the rocks. Oh yeah, I have a bucket there collecting the water from the mini split. I set this up last night, and so going overnight is not the best period of time to be collecting water because it's not, the mini split is not working as hard. But there's far, far more water in this bucket than there was when I did this down at the Valley of the Gods. That was like a cup and a half. All right, we're gonna measure this, so it's gonna count these. Go ahead and dump it out, Clara. 6, 7, 8, and 9.
Exactly 9 cups.
It's not going to be super precise to the decimal, but we got 9 cups of water out of that. That was so much more than when we did this at the Valley of the Gods. So, and we're not even in a really humid place like the Midwest or a lot of the world. We're still here in Idaho, which is less humidity. So when we go to a humid place, this is going to be a lot of water, and that was just overnight, keep in mind. Which, when we did the Valley of Gods, that was also just overnight, and that was a cup and a half. I thought I'd share that because I've had people ask in the video comments, why don't you just drink the water coming out of the air conditioner? And my response previously was, well, there's far less water there than we really need, but now I know that it is actually a usable amount. Obviously, you can't subsist completely on the water coming out of the mini split, but it is a usable amount. We're at the trailhead, I think, to get over to the other side of the river. We have to go down this trail and across the bridge over there, and then we'll be able to just hike over to this hot springs area on the side of the river, I believe. So we've walked through this RV park back here on the back side of it, and then over here on the back side of that RV park is a trail, and this is what's going to take us along the side of the river where the hot pots are, so that we don't have to try to cross the river. There's enough water flowing through the river, and with small kids, I don't think we would even want to try that. There might be points where adults could get through, but it would be tricky. But this way we can get there on foot and play in the hot water that is on the side of the river, but it's on the opposite side of the river than the accessible side from where we parked. So we had to do this hike all the way around it. But it's okay, it really hasn't been much of a hike. We've only been walking now for a couple of minutes is all. Right up over that way you can see the tubes from the tube rental place on the other side. That's the park that we were hanging out at 2 days ago. The girls are always finding things to pick. Well, that one fell apart. We've been hiking for a total of 5 minutes, maybe up to 7. Really not that long at all. And right here are the hot springs. We made it. We're here at the hot pool that's on the side of the river. The water is coming in from right there, and it is scalding hot water. And as it comes down into this pool, it's mixing with the river water, but they've got this wall of rocks, so it's not mixing too fast. And there are some places in this pool where there's really hot water. I think it's mostly following this wall, and also the hot water staying on the surface, so the river water that's cooler is on the bottom. So as you walk around, especially farther this way, it gets pretty hot in some places, but it's really unpredictable. Otherwise, it's actually really good, really nice temperature over here. Comfortable and warm, a little bit like a cooler hot tub over in this direction. And then you get to watch all of the river rafters go by as you relax in the warm water. Hey girls, don't you love that we have this to ourselves?
Yes.
Yeah, it's nice, huh?
We don't have to like swim around and then bump into people.
Yeah.
I doubt that, Lucy.
Hey James. It has now gotten crowded here, so we had it to ourselves for a long time. And this is how crowded it is. And the vast majority of these people arrived at about 12 actually, maybe slightly before. But we were here for about 2 hours and almost had it entirely to ourselves for that long. Probably an hour and a half. And this right here is the disadvantage of this campsite, that it's on the other side of the railroad tracks from the highway. So we're getting to the turnoff right now, and this train is coming, so we're gonna have to just sit there and wait for it to go by. But at least there's a little bit of space here for us to park while we wait.
And look how close we are to this train, girls.
Do you see that train car right there that has the orange-yellow color? That's called a reefer on the front, and that right there is the compressor unit. That's how it keeps the contents cold.
That means it has something cold in it.
Yep. And then see these tanks? Those are oil.
Is this my first time being this close to a train?
Probably.
No.
Yeah, probably. Well, you've ridden on a train, but being outside of the train, yeah.
Not this kind of train.
This is close.
What's this?
Do you girls like watching the train go by?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's fun the first time. Here comes the very last train car. This one doesn't have an engine on the back, just a regular car. When we got back to our trailer, I flew my drone, and I can see why people want to live in this beautiful valley. Farther up the highway, there are houses spread all along the valley, mostly against the foothills of the mountain. And humorously, there's randomly a go-kart track across the highway from where we were camped. We would totally come and stay here again, despite the trains. It is a shame, though, that the campsites aren't still spread along the riverside like they used to be. It would be nice to have more distance from other campers, which is why we boondock whenever we can, and so far we have only ever boondocked. We also would have loved closer proximity to the water for the nice waterfall ambiance, at least when the train horns aren't blaring, that is. And just like that, we are back to the trailer. And the temperature in here is 66.6 degrees, and outside it's 98.1. And the trailer's battery is up to 75%. We're getting 2,000 watts of solar, and the mini split is consuming 632 watts to maintain this temperature. And right now it is 1:07 p.m. At this point, we're just gonna get dressed, we're gonna eat lunch, and then we'll head back home. And I've been leaving the hot water heater on all day, and our fresh tank is now indicating empty. We got back from a trip the other day and it indicated empty, and when we got home I emptied out all the water into a 5-gallon bucket and measured out 15 gallons. So it's been showing empty since yesterday. What are we having for lunch, kids?
Oh, sandwiches. I just remember we have chips, we can have two.
We just ran out of water, and I was taking a quick shower just to rinse off the gravel from the hot springs. So we turned off the water pump because it was just continuously going, which for what it's worth, considering we withdrew probably 15 gallons, maybe 20 gallons of water from the trailer for the group at the family reunion. It's actually pretty impressive that we've had water last this long. All right, we've all packed up, turned off the mini split and everything else. The inside is currently 72 and outside it's 99.7, so basically 100 degrees. And the battery's at 88% and we're getting 2 kilowatts. So this is going to be filling up real soon as we drive home. The drive home was 180 miles and was close to 3 hours of driving. We talked about the fun trip we just had with the kids, and then they fell asleep. When the kids woke up, they listened to their audiobooks as usual. This trip was actually way on the short side compared to many of the road trips we've done in the past, especially in our Tesla. This drive was the equivalent of just our first segment of many on a long road trip. The longest travel day we've done was around 14 hours, which none of us like, but sometimes is just the better option for where we're trying to get in the time we have. Luckily, our kids are road trip warriors, and when I ask them what their favorite thing to do is as a family, they each individually always say that going on trips is their favorite. And now that we have our new Model Y with much faster charging than our Model S, I anticipate we'll be able to go even farther distances. So stay tuned for those future adventures trying out the latest electric vehicle tech. We are stopping here at Brigham City to dump the tanks from the trailer. And this is right next to a water treatment plant here for Brigham City, and they even have an RV dump sign there, and there's a sign for RV dump users. We're approaching getting home. We have 6.9 miles to go. And the truck is showing that we have 16 miles to empty. So we're getting home with just barely enough gas remaining. And right now it's showing 103 degrees outside, but it has shown it is high as 106. So we're all excited to get home, right, girls?
Yep.
Definitely hasn't been the longest drive that we've ever done. I'm filling up the truck here the next day at our local Costco, and the transaction is being limited to $100 again, which is not uncommon. And we're getting gas at $3.75 per gallon. So I'm going to start a new transaction so I can finish filling up the tank. It's finished filling up for the final time, and you can see we're at $20, and so it was $120 for this fill up, and that's for another 5.33 gallons. For this entire trip, we used 55.87 gallons of gasoline, which cost us $212.17 to drive 434 miles at the rate of 7.77 miles per gallon. I don't typically talk about our Ford F-250 much because it's well-known technology, but I do recap these cost stats so that someday when I tow this trailer with an electric truck, I'll have cost comparison data. At least that's my plan while I wait for an electric truck that can seat 6 people. Towing electric will have more than enough power, but if the range is not good enough for us, then we'll go back to gas or diesel until there is an electric truck with sufficient range. Luckily, our use case is completely optional, meaning we can choose to camp closer to home if we want to in order to be able to tow with an electric truck. Also, new supercharger locations are being built quite rapidly right now, so fast charging options will only continue to improve. When we first purchased our Model S in 2019, there were a grand total of 10 supercharger locations in the entire state of Utah. Now there are 21, with 7 more known locations in various stages of permitting and construction. Even if there were more than enough supercharger locations, though, if the range of the EV truck is abysmally low to the point that it's not working out for us, we have no qualm switching to whatever technology will work for us. I'm certainly willing to try it out and share my results with all of you, and I'm glad there's multiple options we can all choose from for ourselves. We are back home. That was a fun adventure, and so I thought I'd just give a quick systems update and then kind of a summary about the trip. Looking at the temperatures in here, obviously the mini split was left off the whole time we were driving, so it got warm. So it's now at 97 inside and 98.8 outside. I just barely turned on the mini split when I came in here because I'm going to be cleaning up some things. So it's pulling some energy. It's pulling a lot of energy probably. So if we look over here, the battery was at 100% for the last couple of hours as we drove. And I just plugged in the Tesla, and so the Tesla and the mini split are both pulling now a combined 2800 watts. The Tesla is pulling, 10 amps at 240 volts, so that's about 2400 watts. And then the mini split is the rest of that, and the mini split is still ramping up. The solar is not very good right now because keep in mind right now it is 6:18 p.m. and there's shading across the trailer from the roof of our house this time of day, so we're not going to get that much more solar today. I'm going to be discharging this battery for a little while until we get it down probably closer to 50%, and then tomorrow I'll bring it down. I usually keep it around 25% most days while I'm charging the Tesla, and it's just here on the side of our house. So in summary, I make these videos just to kind of highlight and summarize how well the electric technology works, specifically in this case solar and batteries and inverters in a trailer, and how well it works when we're camping on a real trip with a real family that have cooking needs and HVAC needs and stuff. We don't even take a generator anymore. We obviously don't need one. We have the power plant on the roof, but also illustrating the effectiveness of the mini split and how well it is able to cool the trailer at this time of year when it's really hot out. And we've also tested it in the winter in past videos. And the effectiveness of the solar yield varies pretty dramatically throughout the year. As an example, in a past video I just did, we were camped out in one location by Strawberry Reservoir in Utah over the course of a couple of days. And one of the days was a perfectly sunny day, and the trailer solar panels produced 20 kilowatt hours, which is the most I had ever seen up to that point. Here at our house, it doesn't usually produce that much. It's usually closer to 17 or 18 kilowatt hours because of the shading of the trees on one side and the house on the other side. In the winter, however, here next to our house, it has produced as little as, and this is a perfectly sunny day, as much as 51% in a fully sunny day, but keep in mind that's with a little bit of shading. And I'm talking about percentage of the battery bank that's on board, and that's a 9.6 kilowatt hour battery bank. In any case, it's not very effective in the winter, the solar yield. I mean, not as effective as the summer. It's like a quarter as much as the summer can produce. Obviously, if we were to tilt the panels, that helps a lot because the sun is much lower in the sky in the winter. But ultimately, we don't camp a lot in the winter, so it's not really worth trying to finagle more energy out of the panels in the winter. And, depending on what we're trying to do, it actually is a lot of power that works pretty well for us. So the temperatures is one reason why I highlight the mini split and the cooling a lot, because there are a lot of people online that insist you cannot do air conditioning on solar panels, powered by solar panels. And in their case, they're talking about your traditional rooftop air conditioning units that come on RVs, and they're talking about traditional smaller solar arrays. They're using 200 watt solar panels, and they're positioning those solar panels just where they can fit on the roof of their RVs. Yeah, it's really hard to get enough solar panels, and the air conditioner that's on the roof is very, very inefficient in that case. But here, if you swap that out for a mini split, and then if you add a solar array that covers over the top of the trailer, it goes over the obstructions, and you have removed that rooftop air conditioner, which is what we did. Now you're talking. It works wonderfully well. As I demonstrated on this trip, it was getting up close to 100 degrees, and we were running the air conditioner as cold as it would go, down to 64 degrees Fahrenheit, and we still were able to fully charge the battery bank throughout the day and leave the air conditioner on all day. So it works well for that. And so in this case, our trip was a family reunion. We did not do as much in the trailer as we would have if we were on a traditional camping trip. A lot of the food preparation, for instance, was being done elsewhere. And one thing our trailer was serving up in excess of was water, actually. The water storage that we had on board was helpful for the group, and we were using jerry cans to take water over to the group since there wasn't potable water where we were located. So the trailer was a great success, as it usually is on our trips. We had a lot of fun. Something that was a first for us on this trip was that we actually did run out of water. We knew we were getting close, of course, and so just knowing that it was right before we were about to just drive home, I went ahead and took a shower because we just got back from those hot springs, and it ran out while I was in the shower, which is fine. I was just rinsing off. So now we know better how to gauge right to the bottom of the water tank. We've never done that before, and that's a minor point. This is the energy consumption graph of our last day of the trip. You can see the battery started out the night at 63% and marched down and bottomed out at 40% before solar took over. And you can see there was a huge energy spike here in the morning, as is usual when we're making breakfast and whatnot. The solar production performed quite well until the battery filled up here at 2 p.m. and stayed full for a little while, and you can see the energy consumption was quite minimal, so the solar correspondingly was minimal. And then we got home, and that was when I plugged in the Tesla and started to draw down the battery of the RV, plus I was running the mini split for a little bit in there while I was recording my videos. So that's these two bars right here. So 2.38 kilowatt hours withdrawn from the trailer in 2 hours time there, and we drew down the battery to 39%, where then it stayed for the remainder of the day. And I turned off the inverters, and that's why there's basically nothing showing here, because there is no standby loss or energy consumption if the inverters are off. This graph does not show DC energy, and the DC energy on our trailer is quite minimal, so there's the percentage of the battery would be reflected in that case, and it doesn't go down at all. So the consumption throughout the day was 11.5 kilowatt hours, which includes this Tesla charging here, of course, so not just camping and living in the trailer. And the solar production was 12.6 kilowatt hours, which was also not as high as it could have been because it got to 100% for a couple of hours here during the day. And I hope it was helpful for you to see what the technology on board was able to enable us to do on this trip. With that, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.